Welcome back, my friend. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. I hope you're sitting down because what I'm about to tell you will make you understand what's really happening inside the White House. Not what they're telling you on the news, not what the press office says, but what's actually happening. You're here on the Bell with Bounce, where we read between the lines, connect the dots, and tell you what things really mean instead of accepting what you're told on television by people paid to spin things. Before I get into what I figured out about Trump and Hegseth and why firing rumors are rising right now, and I mean they're rising fast like a thermometer on a hot summer day, I need to ask you for something personal, just you and me. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for the Bell with Bounce right now. Just one click. When you subscribe to this channel, you're making a statement. You're saying, Bell with Bounce, I'm with you. I want to understand what's really happening behind the scenes. I want to know the truth, not the spin. That means the world to me. It's not just a subscription number, it's personal. It's a real connection between us. So please do it right now. Subscribe to the Bell with Bounce. Make it real between us. Now here's what I want to talk about today. This is important. Trump erupted. He got angry. He called Hegseth not once, but multiple times. When Trump calls someone and he's upset, when Trump raises his voice to one of his own people, when Trump expresses frustration and starts making phone calls about it, that means something. That means things are changing. That means the dynamic is shifting. That means Trump is starting to think, maybe, just maybe, Hegseth is becoming more of a liability than an asset. That means Trump's calculating whether to keep him or get rid of him. I'm going to explain exactly why I think that and what it means for Hegseth's future and this administration. Here's what happened. Pay attention, because this is the moment that changes everything. Over the weekend, the Washington Post dropped a bombshell that was absolutely brutal. They reported that Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, the top military person in the entire country, the guy who's supposed to be running 2 million service members, allegedly gave a verbal order to kill everybody on a boat in the Caribbean. Not just sink the boat, not just conduct a military strike, but kill everybody, including survivors, all of them. Let me paint you a picture of what this means. On September 2nd, 2025, there's a boat in the Caribbean. The Trump administration claims it's carrying drugs. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. We don't have independent verification, but the administration says it's a threat. So they launch a missile strike, boom, the boat gets destroyed, people die, a lot of people, that's terrible. But okay, that's a military operation. That's the kind of thing that happens in these situations. But here's where it gets dark. There are 2 survivors, 2 men clinging to wreckage. They're in the water. They're injured. They're burnt. They're not a threat to anybody. They're just trying to stay alive, holding on to pieces of wood, trying to keep their heads above water. 2 human beings in the water trying to survive. Now, under international law, the Geneva Conventions, which America signed onto, you're supposed to rescue survivors. You're supposed to bring them in as prisoners of war. You're supposed to give them medical treatment. That's the law. That's what separates us from barbarians. That's what we've supposedly believed in for decades. But according to the Washington Post, according to multiple sources with direct knowledge of the operation, Hegseth allegedly said, "Kill everybody." 3 words. Based on that order, a second missile strike was launched, a second attack on the same location, specifically designed to kill those 2 survivors in the water. Both of them died. Both men were killed. When this story came out, when the Washington Post published this, what happened? Did Hegseth say, yes, I ordered the second strike, and here's why it was legal and necessary? Did he provide a legal justification? Did he explain himself? No. He went on the attack. He called it fake news. He called it a lie. He called it inflammatory. He said the media was fabricating stories. He even posted a cartoon of Franklin the Turtle shooting at boats. Franklin the Turtle, like this is a joke, like ordering what might be a war crime, is something to laugh about with a children's character cartoon. The more he denied it, the more defensive he got, the worse it looked. Because if you're innocent, if you didn't do anything wrong, you don't go on such a massive defensive attack. You don't call it all fake news. You explain yourself. You provide the facts. You say, here's why we did it. Here's the legal justification. Here's why we thought it was necessary. But Hegseth didn't do that. Hegseth just denied and attacked and posted cartoons. Now we've got a situation where the Secretary of Defense is being accused of ordering what might be a war crime, and his response is to deny it and post cartoons on social media. Trump had to make a decision. Trump had to either stand by Hegseth or distance himself from him. What did Trump do? At first, Trump said he didn't say that, and I believe him 100%. Trump backed him up. Trump believed him. Trump defended him publicly. But here's the thing, and this is what I want you to understand. Saying I believe him 100% is actually a sign of weakness, not strength. If Trump was truly confident, if Trump was truly sure about Hegseth, he wouldn't need to say 100%. He wouldn't need to overcompensate like that. A truly confident person just moves on. A person who's confident just says, that's not true, and moves forward. But Trump said 100%, which tells me Trump was trying to convince himself as much as he was trying to convince other people. That's when things changed. That's when Trump started making phone calls. Trump called Hegseth not once, but multiple times. During these phone calls, and this is the key part, this is what everybody's talking about, this is what's driving the rumors, Trump expressed frustration. Trump was upset. Trump was upset about leakers in the administration. Trump was frustrated that stories were getting out. Trump was frustrated about how badly this whole thing was going. Trump was frustrated that his own team was leaking information to the press. Why would Trump be frustrated? Why would Trump be calling Hegseth multiple times if he was completely confident in him? Why would Trump be upset about leakers if everything was fine and this was all just fake news? Why would Trump be making multiple phone calls expressing frustration if he thought Hegseth was doing a good job and was innocent? The answer is simple. Trump's not stupid. Trump might be a lot of things, but he's not stupid. Trump knows how to read a room. Trump knows when something's gone too far. Trump knows when a situation is spiraling out of control. Trump is starting to realize right now, at this moment, that Hegseth might be a problem, that Hegseth might have become a liability, that keeping Hegseth in the job might be damaging Trump more than it's helping him. Let me tell you what's really going on behind the scenes, because this is the stuff that doesn't make the news, but it's absolutely the most important stuff. This is where I'm going to break down Trump's psychology for you, because understanding Trump is the key to understanding what's about to happen. Trump had to fight hard to get Hegseth confirmed. I mean, he really had to fight. The Republican Party had to fight. The Senate barely voted for him. It was contentious. It was messy. There were people who opposed him. There were stories about his personal life. There were concerns about his qualifications. There were questions about his judgment. But Trump pushed through anyway. Trump used his political capital. Trump got him confirmed. So now, if Trump fires Hegseth, what does that say? What does that say about Trump's judgment? What does that say about Trump's ability to pick people for important positions? What does that say about Trump's vetting process? Because Trump doesn't want to admit he made a mistake. Trump never admits he made mistakes. Trump would rather defend someone than admit he picked the wrong person. Trump would rather double down than walk back. Here's what's interesting about Trump's psychology here. I want you to really understand this, because this is how Trump operates. Trump doesn't like to get rid of people. Trump likes to have control over people. Trump likes to have people who are loyal to him. Trump likes to have people who will do what he wants without asking questions. Hegseth is loyal to Trump. Hegseth defended Trump when Trump was in trouble. Hegseth did things that Trump wanted him to do. Hegseth is aggressive and tough in a way that appeals to Trump. So Trump doesn't want to fire Hegseth. Trump wants to keep him. Trump would prefer to keep him. Trump likes the idea of having a tough Secretary of Defense who's not afraid to use force and who's loyal to Trump. But Trump also doesn't like looking bad. Trump doesn't like being embarrassed. Trump doesn't like having to defend his people if the evidence is too overwhelming. Trump doesn't like looking weak or stupid or like he made a bad decision. And the evidence against Hegseth is getting close to overwhelming. The evidence is piling up. The investigations are multiplying. The calls for his resignation are getting louder. So what happens? Trump starts to distance himself. Trump starts to make phone calls expressing frustration. Trump starts to solicit feedback from people around him about Hegseth's performance. Trump starts to think about what happens if Hegseth has to go. Trump starts to calculate whether keeping Hegseth is worth the damage it's causing Trump's image. That's the pattern. That's what we're seeing right now. Here's the timeline I'm expecting. I think what happens is this. Trump keeps defending Hegseth publicly for a while longer. Trump doesn't want to fire him too quickly, because that looks like Trump made a mistake hiring him. Trump doesn't want people saying, oh, Trump got it wrong with Hegseth. Trump wants it to look like Trump made a deliberate decision, not like Trump was forced into it by circumstances. So Trump waits. Trump lets the news cycle go around. Trump lets the investigations continue. Trump lets Congress ask their questions. Trump lets the pressure build. Then at some point, maybe in a month, maybe in a few months, maybe when Trump thinks the timing is right, maybe when Trump thinks he can spin it the right way, Trump makes a decision. Trump decides that Hegseth has become more of a liability than an asset. Trump decides that keeping Hegseth is costing Trump more politically than firing him would. Trump decides that firing Hegseth will actually make Trump look good because Trump's making the tough decision. Trump's being decisive. Trump's cleaning house. Trump's not tolerating incompetence or war crimes or whatever happened. Then Trump fires him or Hegseth resigns, or they reach some agreement where Hegseth steps down and everyone says he resigned to spend more time with his family or whatever excuse they come up with. But the result is the same. Hegseth's gone. But here's what I want you to understand about all of this, and this is the important part. This isn't just about whether one person keeps his job or not. This is about something bigger. This is about whether there are any consequences for anything in this administration. This is about whether the rules apply to people in power. This is about whether someone can share classified information and order what might be a war crime and still keep his job. This is about whether accountability exists. Because if Trump doesn't fire Hegseth, if Trump decides to keep him despite all of this evidence, despite the Pentagon Inspector General report, despite the investigations, despite the calls for his resignation from Congress, despite the military chaos, then what message does that send? It sends the message that loyalty to the president matters more than the law. It sends the message that you can do anything as long as the president backs you. It sends the message that the Pentagon is basically Trump's personal military, not an institution that's bound by law and ethics and constitutional constraints. It sends the message that war crimes are okay as long as you're loyal to Trump. That's dangerous. That's the kind of thing that makes military officers lose faith in the system. That's the kind of thing that makes soldiers wonder whether they should obey orders if their commander-in-chief is willing to overlook alleged war crimes. That's the kind of thing that fundamentally damages the military as an institution. That's the kind of thing that erodes the rule of law. But here's the problem that Trump's facing right now. The evidence against Hegseth is piling up. It's not just rumors anymore. It's not just one story. It's official reports. It's documentation. It's multiple investigations. The Pentagon Inspector General report just came out. That's the Pentagon's own watchdog. That's the person whose job it is to make sure the Pentagon is following the law and acting ethically. The Inspector General's report says that Hegseth violated protocol when he shared classified military information over Signal. The report says he risked endangering American troops and compromising military missions. The report says he put pilots and soldiers at risk by being careless with classified information. That's official. That's documented. That's from the Pentagon's own watchdog. That's not fake news. That's not media bias. That's the government's own investigators saying Hegseth violated rules. On top of that, you've got the Caribbean boat strikes controversy. You've got senators, Republican senators, his own party, coming out and saying things like, I don't think he was up to the task. You've got Congress investigating whether war crimes were committed. You've got military lawyers saying his conduct violated international law. You've got his own former advisors saying things have been complete chaos at the Pentagon for the last month. A month of total chaos with people resigning, with staffers leaving, with senior military officers pushing back. You've got former Fox News colleagues like Andrew Napolitano saying this is an act of war crime. You've got retired military officers saying they're concerned about whether he has the judgment to run the Pentagon. You've got legal experts analyzing his conduct and saying it violates the Geneva Conventions. So Trump's in a bind. Trump wants to keep Hegseth because Hegseth is loyal to Trump, and Trump likes people who are loyal to him. But the evidence that Hegseth is a disaster, the evidence that Hegseth is incompetent, the evidence that Hegseth may have committed serious crimes, that evidence is overwhelming. And Trump is smart enough to know that at some point keeping Hegseth becomes more damaging to Trump than letting him go. Now let me tell you what the firing rumors really mean. When rumors start circulating that someone's about to get fired, that usually means there's been a shift in how people at the top are thinking. It usually means someone's been making phone calls behind the scenes. It usually means conversations are happening about succession plans. It usually means people are actively thinking about who could replace the person and what that transition would look like. Right now, there are rumors about who might replace Hegseth. There's talk about Daniel Driscoll, who's the Army Secretary. There's talk about other military figures. There's talk about what a transition would look like. Why would people be talking about successors? Why would the Pentagon be having conversations about who could replace Hegseth if there wasn't a real possibility that Hegseth was going to have to go? Why would Trump and his team be soliciting feedback about Hegseth's performance if they weren't considering whether to keep him? That's what the firing rumors mean. That's what's really happening. Trump is thinking about it. People in the White House are thinking about it. Military leaders are thinking about it. Trump's staff is asking other people, what do you think about Hegseth? Is he doing a good job? Why would they ask that unless they were considering whether to keep him? The fact that Trump called Hegseth and expressed frustration, that's a sign that these thoughts are getting more serious. That's a sign that Trump's calculation is changing. That's a sign that Trump's mind might be moving away from keeping Hegseth. So when Trump calls Hegseth and expresses frustration, when rumors start circulating about firing, when people start talking about successors, when Trump starts soliciting feedback, that actually gives me some hope. That tells me that maybe Trump is recognizing that this situation is untenable, that maybe Trump is thinking about what's best for the country instead of just what's best for Trump, that maybe Trump is finally going to do the right thing. Now, I want to ask you something, and I want you to really think about this. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think Trump fires Hegseth? Do you think he keeps him? Do you think there's some compromise where Hegseth gets reassigned or demoted? Because based on what I'm seeing, based on how these situations usually play out with Trump, I think the firing is coming. I think it's not a matter of if, but when. Trump called him multiple times. Trump expressed frustration. Trump is soliciting feedback about his performance. Trump is thinking about successors. Those are all signs that Trump's mind is changing. Those are all signs that Trump's calculating whether to keep him or get rid of him. The only thing that could save Hegseth is if Trump decides that the political cost of keeping him is lower than the political cost of firing him. If Trump decides that his base cares more about loyalty than they care about whether Hegseth might have committed war crimes. If Trump decides that defending Hegseth is worth it because it sends a message to other people that Trump has their back no matter what. If Trump decides that firing Hegseth would look weak or like Trump was wrong about hiring him. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think the evidence is too overwhelming. I think the political pressure is too strong. I think Trump's frustration is too real. I think Trump's starting to realize that Hegseth is hurting him more than helping him. So here's what I predict. Within the next few weeks or months, we're going to see either Hegseth fired or Hegseth resigned. Trump's going to spin it as a tough decision, as Trump being decisive, as Trump cleaning house. Trump's going to say something like, we had different visions for the Pentagon, or it was time for new leadership, or some other excuse that makes it sound like Trump's in control. But what it really means is that Trump realized Hegseth was a liability. What it really means is that Trump calculated that firing Hegseth would help Trump more than it would hurt him. What it really means is that Trump decided his own political survival was more important than loyalty to Hegseth. And you know what? In this case, that might actually be the right decision for the wrong reasons. Because Hegseth shouldn't be Secretary of Defense. Not if he ordered what might be a war crime. Not if he violated protocol with classified information. Not if he's causing chaos at the Pentagon. Not if military officers are losing faith in the leadership. So, if Trump fires Hegseth, even if it's for selfish political reasons, even if it's because Trump's worried about his own image, the result is still the right one. Hegseth shouldn't be in that position. And if Trump finally realizes that and acts on it, then at least something good will come out of this whole mess. But here's the thing I want you to remember. This whole situation shouldn't have happened in the first place. Trump shouldn't have nominated Hegseth. The Senate shouldn't have confirmed him. The vetting process should have caught these problems. The system should have worked to prevent someone unqualified and potentially dangerous from becoming Secretary of Defense. The fact that we're at this point, the fact that we're talking about whether the Secretary of Defense ordered a war crime, the fact that we're waiting to see if Trump fires him, that's a failure of the system. That's a failure of leadership. That's a failure of accountability. And even if Hegseth gets fired, even if Trump does the right thing eventually, we still need to ask ourselves how this happened. We still need to ask ourselves what safeguards failed. We still need to ask ourselves what we can do to make sure this doesn't happen again. Because the next time, we might not be so lucky. The next time, the consequences might be worse. The next time, Trump might not realize someone's a liability until it's too late. The next time, the damage might be irreversible. So yes, I think Trump's going to fire Hegseth. I think the signs are all there. I think the calculation is shifting. I think the frustration is real. I think the political pressure is too strong. I think it's coming soon. But even when it happens, even when Hegseth is gone, we still need to remember how we got here. We still need to learn from this. We still need to demand better. We still need to hold our leaders accountable. We still need to insist that the rules matter, that the law matters, that ethics matter, that competence matters. Because if we don't, if we just move on to the next controversy without learning anything, then this will happen again and again and again. And eventually, the system will break completely. Eventually, there won't be any accountability at all. Eventually, the rule of law will be nothing more than a suggestion that powerful people can ignore whenever it's convenient. And that's not the country any of us want to live in. That's not the military any of our soldiers deserve to serve in. That's not the leadership any of us should accept. So yes, watch the firing rumors. Watch Trump's phone calls. Watch the investigations. Watch the political pressure. Because all of those things are signs that change is coming. All of those things are signs that Trump's calculation is shifting. All of those things are signs that Hegseth's time might be running out. But also remember why this matters. Remember what's at stake. Remember that this isn't just about one person's job. This is about whether our system of government still works. This is about whether accountability still exists. This is about whether anyone in power still has to follow the rules. And that's something worth paying attention to. That's something worth caring about. That's something worth demanding from our leaders. So keep watching. Keep asking questions. Keep demanding answers. Keep holding people accountable, because that's how democracy survives. That's how the rule of law survives. That's how we make sure this never happens again. Thank you for watching the Bobby Report. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video with people who need to understand what's really happening, and I'll see you in the next one.